So the Blood Kingdom, that's a pretty big deal in Midgard. They're the principalities of Morgau and Doresh that came together, and their kingdoms ruled by the undead. So vampires walk openly. They have alliances with the ghouls from the Ghoul Imperium below Midgard. They rule with an iron fist and an endless thirst for blood, and being a peasant in the Blood Kingdoms is not a good lot. So the best you could hope for is maybe to be seen as a strong, capable fighter, and you might get inducted into one of the military ranks, and perhaps be spared some of the more terrible fates that way. But the Dhampir come about from that culture and those unions between vampire and mortal. And so you have noble houses of these half-blood vampires, essentially. Or, wandering offspring of an indiscretion, or a forbidden love even. It doesn't have to be all dark and nasty, although it definitely has that edge and that overtone no matter what you do about it. Because Dhampir are very much creatures of two worlds that can't really fully belong in either. And so it's a fun line to walk. Where you come from is this horrible place of death and blood, and that's where you were raised, and that's probably in a lot of cases what you look up to. A Dhampir might aspire to become a full-blood vampire at one point, and so that's it's just one of the things we really try to do is just build story hooks on story hooks, and Dhampir is just full of them. So that's really cool. And you have a lot of vampire light abilities, like you can pseudo charm people a little bit. You can drink blood of living or freshly killed people to restore yourself. A lot of fun. Ratfolk, I mean, kind of what you see on the tin is what you get there. The little rat dudes. They can kind of thrive wherever there's a civilization, and you can find them in the Southlands, from Zobek all the way down to Nuria Natal and the city of Perbastet. And pretty much anywhere you have a city, you're going to have rats, and you're going to have the rat folk living in and under the infrastructure, sort of like they do. They're sneaky, they're roguelike. If you think Skaven from Warhammer, you will not be far off, and if that's your jam, these guys will scratch that itch. So they have a little bit of a similar deal to kobolds in that they're small, nimble, just fun little dudes. They can talk to rats a little bit and make deals with them, and so you might see dockside gangs where the wharf rats are growing to the size of cats and dogs, and and those might actually be the agents of the Ratfolk Thieves Guild who are living in the sewers that empty out into the bay there. Because there's been they have a presence in the Tome of Beasts, and it got a really good fan response. Speaking of, that's a good segue into the Bearfolk, which was a thing from the Northlands in Beornheim, the Kingdom of the Bear. Originally, that was mostly the province of werebears. You have a bunch of these werebear, Viking dudes drinking mead and cultivating these giant bees to produce the honey for their meaderies and all that fun stuff. But we made these Bearfolk, basically kind of NPC monster, however you want to use them, for the Tome of Beasts, and constantly just a steady stream of these guys are great. Where's the player stats for them? Because my group wants to play them, and so we heard you, and we hear and hearing obey. So there's a full PC race write-up of Bearfolk in the Midgard's Heroes Handbook, which has it's basically an entry just like you'd see in the Player's Handbook. So it has names, it has cultural information, physical description, all of that good stuff, plus full playable traits, and they're a lot of fun. They're cool because they also bridge the gap into the Shadow Realm on a player side again in a different way than the Shadowfae do, because they are one of the only non-Shadow native civilizations in the Shadow Realm. So if you want to play someone from there who's not corrupted by the power of darkness, essentially, these guys are a cool option for that, because they have learned tricks to keep themselves pure and not succumb to the taint of shadow.